live from Riverside County Park. This is Sack Life. Beat Depression. It's day 735, and I've forgotten my water again. Dagnabbit. It's day 735 of our martial arts for mental health lessons. And as you guys know, we start every single show with that powerful mental health tool of gratitude. Gratitude today going out to Y&I for putting on an amazing show, sharing their passion with the world, helping inspire others to share their passions with the world just by being themselves and doing their thing. They're amazing, warm, loving people, and it was so good to be able to see them again out there in New York City. If you caught, I shared some of that journey, some of that show with you guys yesterday. If you caught it in the stories, you know what I'm talking about. If not, it's all good. They'll be around again. But that may have been their last show in NYC for quite some time. So I'm really glad and grateful that I got out there to experience it. Also want to shout out gratitude to Lisa the Luminary. Thank you for tuning in. And to everybody out there who's been showing up for yourselves and for others. By making that progress and making it public, it's a really great way that we can inspire one another to make progress in our lives, just as individuals. Remember, you can't change. You can't force somebody to change. You can't save somebody or force somebody to do the work that they need. But what we can do is we can do the work that we need for ourselves. We can take care of ourselves in a way that hopefully motivates and inspires others to take care of themselves. So that's one of the best things we can do out here. I believe it was a Gandhi quote that was, be the change that you want to see in the world. So that's what we're doing out here every single day with consistency, with dedication. Shout out to Brett, aka Soul. Thanks so much for being here as well and sharing your progress. That's where my gratitude's going to you guys and girls out there supporting the cause, also to Y&I. And that is my gratitude tool. Go ahead and think about your piece of gratitude for the day. It'll help put you in that positive mindset as we move into today's lesson. And the second mental health tool we want to talk about is keeping track, keeping score, right, of that score against, we're on a baseball field, so I might as well use baseball terms. You can have the home team advantage. You can keep track of your own personal scoreboard against depression, right? It's been 735 days of consecutive hits, consecutive runs, consecutive goals. I don't know all the terms. I'm not a huge baseball guy. But it has been 735 days of progress, and each one of those days counts. Each one is a point on your scoreboard against depression. So, because depression is a debilitating and life-threatening illness. So every day that you get up and you fight forwards against that is proof that you are stronger than, that you have taken a step forward and you have moved forward in the face of that opposition. And you can give yourself that home team advantage by keeping score of the number of days you show up for you. That number will only get bigger and bigger and show yourself, the whole world, everyone around you, including depression itself, that you are stronger than anything that is trying to stop you. So please do keep track of that number. Let it build up over time and see the type of effects it can have. Not just with your training, but also out there in the real world and the rest of your life. This confidence and self-esteem and self-validation that we can give ourselves will translate over into every aspect of life, as Lisa can attest to, and Brett as well. Shout out to Brett for sharing his number, 66 days. Heck yeah, over 2 months of progress you got out there. And the cool thing about it is, whether you're consecutive, whether you're showing up every single day, or you're showing up when you're able to, either way, oh man, there's Y&I music. I love you guys so much. You're the best. I just mentioned you in the gratitude section, and here you are. You're the best. They're the best type of people. Go out, catch their performance next time, wherever they're at. That being said, thank you, Y&I. I lost my track of thought. We're talking about the progress tracking tool and sharing that number. And Lisa, thank you so much for sharing. It's been 435 days of consecutive progress, consecutive training. Amazing, Lisa. Over a year of consecutive progress for you. I am sure that has not been easy. I can speak from experience. I've punched through sickness and health, storms, hurricanes, all kinds of crazy situations, and no doubt you have faced numerous obstacles that would like to prevent you from making progress. So congrats, props, respect. Thank you for continuing on for 435 days consecutively. And just before Y&I showed up and gave me a natural buzz from their good vibes, we were talking about how that consistency is what will build progress, right? That dedication, that consistency will build progress. But even if it's not consecutive, you never lose track of how much you have shown, how much endurance and strength you have shown. This number never goes down. So even if you miss a day, or you miss 2 days, you miss a week, or you miss a month, if you're keeping track of the number of days that you showed up, that number never goes down. You never have less proof. It will only build into more and more proof that you can get up and you can fight forward against whatever it is that's trying to stop you. So please do keep track of that number. And very good to see the positive social support coming through our system out there between Brett and Lisa and YNI and everybody who's been tuning in. So thank you guys so much for being a part of that. All right, so we talked about gratitude. We talked about the number tool. Let's get into today's lesson. It is Saturday, right? It's still Saturday? I'm losing track out here. Everything blends together after a while. Yes, it is Saturday. So we're going to be doing our standard rounds. 3 rounds each, 3 minutes each. 1 minute breaks in between to catch your breath and drink some water if you got it. I forgot mine, so I'm going to have to moderate my intensity down if I can control myself, so that I don't push too hard. And that's an important part too. Make sure that you're moderating your intensity level, the power you're putting behind those punches, the speed of those punches, and the volume of those strikes in your routine. We want to make sure that we're challenging ourselves. It's not really important what anybody else is doing. It's about our self-care routine. So we want to make sure we give ourselves a challenge, but we don't push too hard, because if we push too hard, we wind up with more anxiety and depression. And if we take it too easy, it winds up being boring. So we got to give ourselves a challenge and find that level that's right for us as individuals, and make sure that we do that for ourselves as many days as possible and keep track. So like I said before, standard rounds, 3 minutes each. 1 minute breaks in between to catch your breath and drink some water. Today we're going to do some body shots together. Not the alcoholic kind, but the progress-based body shots. We'll break down the mechanics. We'll break down the mechanics of a body shot and how to do it with proper form. That way you can do it at home on that heavy bag. I know, Lisa, you've got one. I know, Brett, you've got one. So this class is going to be for you. And shout out to Maine Gonza. Thank you as well for tuning in and being supportive. So we're going to talk about body shots and really drilling that body weight, getting that energy behind it, and drilling those knuckles into that heavy bag. If you got a heavy bag at home, for me, the 2 moves that have felt the best when it comes to a somatic release of anxiety, frustration, stress, and alleviating the moderate to mild symptoms of both anxiety and depression, the 2 moves that have been best for me, that have felt the best for me, have been the body shots and also the roundhouse kicks. Boom, those body kicks to the bag. So if you've got a nice long standard heavy bag out there, somewhere around the 90-pound range, maybe 70 to 100 pounds, it felt really good for me to get that release. And that's the bag that helped me save my life, come off of medication, out of therapy, and into the world to build this system for you guys. So if you got one at home, this is for you. We're going to talk about the mechanics behind a proper punch so that we don't injure ourselves when we're training on the bag. Now, this is not necessarily going to be the way that you'll want to punch if you're in competition or you're in a street fight, because it's going to be, you're going to be giving away a big tell on that move that's coming next. But it is a great way to train for that physical release, for that somatic release of anxiety, frustration, stress, and depression. So, speaking on that, before we get into it and I start those tunes, what we're going to do for the body shot, we're going to square up with that bag, line up with that bag, right? Put your head on the center line, staring straight at it, squared shoulders, squared hips. We can visualize that depression dummy, visualize his face on the bag, visualize his body on the bag. And if you're shadow boxing at home, same thing. You don't need a bag to do this, but a bag's going to take it to the next level where you can get that real physical feedback and that release from it. So for the body shots on the bag, what we want to do, we're going to start with that trail, that rear shoulder, right, that power shot. And what we're going to do is we're going to drop the elbow down to the side, maybe a little bit past the side, bringing it in. And we're going to drop the fist down and lock that elbow in at 90 degrees. We want to keep it nice and tight, 90 degrees there. Lock that elbow in. And notice how my wrist is straight with the elbow. The knuckles and the elbow are in a straight line. So it's not tilted this way, it's not tilted up. We want to make sure that those knuckles are in a very straight line with the elbow. And when we're driving punches in, no matter what angle we're coming in from, whether they're straight punches or they're body shots, we always want to adjust the fist, change the angle of the fist, the rotation on the fist, and make sure that those 2 large knuckles are what's making contact with the bag, and that those 2 large knuckles are in line with the elbow. So if we're coming in with a hook, it can be straight this way through. You can draw a straight line through the knuckle and through to the point of that elbow, and that's where we're going to generate the most power, the most torque, and be the most efficient. So that's the same all the way around. So when it comes to the body shots, let's bring it back to that. We're going to sink a little bit on the knees to just get a lower center of gravity there. Put a little bend in those knees, making sure that the heels are slightly raised in Muay Thai position, right? Heels are slightly raised. We're going to preload that body shot by turning in, giving a little bit of slip, keeping the guard high by the brow line and bringing that lead shoulder in to the center line there. We're going to put a little preload now that pre-winds that rear shoulder, right? It's going to pre-wind that attack. So we're going to put a little preload on it, keep our guard high for the slip, drop that fist down with the palm facing up towards us, locking that elbow in 90 degrees off the waist, and we're going to fire from the hip, twisting on the rear foot, twisting on that rear foot and firing that fist straight forward from the hip into that center mass, into the guts of that depression dummy. And when we drive it forwards, we want to keep that arm kind of at 90 degrees. So you want to be close enough to the bag so that when you drive it forwards, boom, right, it's coming through the hip, that angle's not changing. We're still staying at 90 degrees on the elbow. We're keeping the wrist nice and straight. And another thing that we can do to avoid injury out there when you're hitting that heavy bag is make sure that you squeeze the fist, right? Squeeze that thumb to support the fingers and support those bones in your hands right before the point of impact, or right at the point of impact. So remember, when to make a proper fist, it's the first step to preventing injury. You can start with an open palm, close the fingers, roll the fingers as if you're going to give a thumbs up, right? Nice and tight, no fingernail showing there, nice and supported. And then we're going to take the thumb and tuck the thumb behind those top two fingers. And from there, you've got a nice supported structure there. That force is evenly distributed across the fist. And by squeezing that thumb, what happens is we activate those muscles. You can see those muscles in the arm are being activated when that thumb squeezes to support the fist. That's really going to support that punch, give you a solid punching surface so you can avoid hand injury there. The next part is avoiding that wrist injury like we talked about before. We want to keep the wrist nice and straight, nice and in line, whether you're punching in this way over the top. Again, that wrist straight and in line with the elbow. You can draw a straight line through from that large knuckle to the elbow. And that's going to be the same at all times. So squeeze on impact, drive through from the hip, firing from the hip, send that fist straight forward into the guts of that depression dummy, squeezing at the point of impact, and then bring it back. If you've got the bag, you can feel that feedback, put you back into place, send you back into position. If you don't have the bag, just visualize, whoosh, and stop that fist. Shadowboxing is cool because it's a different way of training. So both are beneficial. Shadowboxing can make up a lot of your training at home, improve your skill level. And also with shadowboxing, you're going to need to use other muscles to stop that fist from accelerating, which is good training to get the whip in those punches, whoosh, on that heavy bag. So visualize that opponent, visualize his guts, right? We're going to sink on those knees just a little bit so we can rotate nice and easy. Remember, the power's coming from rotation and using the proper angles. It's not all about brute force. It's not all about muscle. We just got to get that sweet science down, and then we can be effective with minimal effort, and we can do even more damage when we put more effort into it and get an even bigger physical release. So for those body shots, we're going to be up close, right? Close enough to make that shot land without reaching all the way out. We don't want to extend that arm past the 90 degrees. We just want to use those angles and bring it in. Whoosh, 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 boom, rotating and using that sweet science to be effective and efficient. So that's it for body shots. We're gonna use fundamentals as well. The jab and cross, keep it mobile. We'll be moving around out here, left to right, ba ba ba, driving those shots down the center line. Keep it nice and tight. Focus on form. Focus on squeezing those fists at the point of impact. And that's it. We're gonna get right into it. Drilling some body shots today for intensity. And we'll have that fighting spirit of the 80s going to fuel our progress. Let's do it. Man, why not? Daily beat out here. Alright, here we go. Visualize that target, that depression dummy. Remember to assign it the thing you want to work on today. If it's depression or anxiety, Visualize that target on the face of the bag if you got it at home, and really put that work in. Visualize doing damage to that depression dummy and knocking those lies out of his stupid face or right out of his guts, because that's what we're doing every day we fight for ourselves. All right, let's go. Square up and let's do this thing. Visualize that opponent. We're gonna start in our Muay Thai stance, nice and balanced. Shifting that body weight forwards and backwards. We're still keeping the torso straight, nice and balanced. Tuck the chin, torso stays nice and tall. Let's twist through for the number one, jab. Small step on the foot, twisting through the shoulders and hips, and rotating back. Notice when I twist for the jab, I don't lean in. I'm not torquing my body in there. I'm just turning. Step and turn, and then back. Keep it nice and tight, nice and balanced. Step in for that jab, and back. Rotate on that front foot. Boom. Land in that step right at the point of impact with that depression dummy's face or that bag's head level. When you're hitting the bag, make sure you're turning that fist over, and again, landing on large true knuckles. You want to keep that wrist straight. Turn it in there like a corkscrew. Rotate, boom, to the head, and you can start building a rhythm with it. Keep that jab going, boom, 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 boom. Keep those knees bent, a little spring in that step. Exhale for extra power. Remember to squeeze that fist right at the point of impact to prevent injury. Whoos, whoos, whoos. Let's add in the cross. 3, 2, 1. Right down that center line. Turn those fists over and drive them down that center line, nice and tight. Back to stance. Back to stance. Let's work our first body shots. Get up close to that depression dummy. Body shots, a close range attack. Drop that elbow down to the side, to the hip. We're gonna rotate on the rear foot, on the ball of that foot, to generate that torque and power. Driving that fist forward into the guts of that dummy. And bring it back to the head to defend as the other one drops down to 90 degrees again. Locking that elbow in at 90. Twist through on the front foot and drive those knuckles forwards into the guts of that depression dummy. Bring it back to defend the head. Drop the opposite arm. Whoos. 1. Bring it back. Whoos. 2. Bring it back. Whoos. 3. Bring it back. You'll notice I'm exhaling. Whoos. And I'm using that vocal yell as well to increase power in those strikes. Back to stance. 1, 2 to the head. Down the center line. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. And body shots. Let's do it. Step in. Keep that guard high. Covering up. Elbow comes in to bring that preload over. Drop the elbow down on the opposite hand, bringing it into the waist. Line up your target, right? Angle that fist in, so it's gonna come from the waist and go right in, boom, to that target. Bringing it back to the head to defend after each strike. Let's go. Body shots. Boost 1, boost 2, boost 3, boost 4, boost 5, boost 6. Bending those knees. Let that rotation do the work. That's the end of round 1. Catch your breath, drink some water, check in on you. We got 56 seconds before we start the next round. Ooh. Ooh. Really wish I brought some water with me. It'll be the first thing I do once I get out of here. Man. All right, I hope you guys are tuning in to you, and again, going at your pace. All you want to do is give yourself a challenge. We don't have to overwork here. You can slow down that speed. You can increase that speed if it's not enough of a challenge. If you're doing this on the heavy bag at home, it's going to be an additional challenge, an additional stress put on your system. So make sure you take that into consideration, right? If you throw 100 shots in shadow boxing, right, to the depression dummy, that visualized dummy, it's not going to feel the same as 100 shots to a heavy bag where you're getting that feedback. So moderate down, listen to your body, make sure you're avoiding the dizziness, nauseousness, lightheadedness, all those signs of overreaching. Let's get back into it. Visualize that target. It's time for round 2. We're going to step in and start with the body shots this time. So getting close with that front step, right? You're squared up with the dummy. Bring the hand in, keeping the guard high. We're going to drop that fist down, lock the elbow at 90, and twist on the ball of that rear foot. Boom. Driving that fist forward and making contact with the guts of that dummy. Bring it back to the head to defend. Drop the other one, whoosh, and drive it through. All about rotation here. You don't need to lean over that center of gravity. You want to keep nice and balanced. Keep the chin tucked and the guard high, right? Drop that rear fist down 90 degrees. Whoosh! drive through, and bring it back to defend. Whoosh, drive through, bring it back to defend. Whoosh, drive through, back to defend. Whoosh, drive through and back to defend. Now on that rear fist strike, boom, I'm turning on the ball of the rear foot. After I bring it back to defend, I'm turning on the ball of the front foot to generate that torque and speed in that front strike. Make sure you're alternating between feet when you're hitting that body target. Hit them with 2 to the head, let's go. 2 to the head, 2 to the head. Back to stance, and let's work some body shots. Cover up, dropping the fist to 90. Whoosh, on that back foot. Notice that back foot rotate. Heel staying nice and loose. Bring it back to defend the head and rotate on the front foot. Whoosh, for that front body strike. Back to stance. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Fire from the hip. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Keep going. Exhale through those strikes to add power. And back to stance. Hit him with the 1-2. 1-2. 1-2. 1-2. If you'd like to make it more interesting, work some lateral movement in there. Bop, bop. Work those horizontals. And work your way around that opponent. Hit him in the head. 1-2. And keep it moving. Back to stance. Keep those shots going. To the head. To the head. To the head. To the head. Keep going. You could double them up. Jab, cross, jab, cross. You could start with the cross and keep those combos going. Just work to your pace. Keep the guard high. Stay on your toes and use those angles. Remember, don't lean in. Just rotate. It's all about the rotation. Getting that sweet science down. And body shots. Let's go. Step in. Drop it. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Back to stance. Hit him in the head. 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, and that's the end of round 2. Catch your breath. Drink some water. Woo! I really need it. 54 seconds left. We're gonna hit our final round, and I might be bringing my intensity down because I don't have the water that is crucial to my training out here. I use water as a timer, as a personal timer at home. I'll start with a gallon. I'll start training. When I run out of water, I stop training because hydration is that important. It affects every aspect of our health as well. So yeah, after this, I'm definitely gonna have to refuel. We got 26 seconds. We're gonna get back into it. If you're working on that bag at home, tune into you. Make sure you're not pushing too hard. Use those other mental health tools like visualization, thought association, and really assign that bag what you are doing. Take credit for what you're doing in beating depression, beating those debilitating effects, right? Debilitation will keep us in bed. It'll keep us isolated and inactive. We're doing the exact opposite. We're up on our feet fighting forwards. All right, let's get into it. Last round. Square up with that depression dummy. Guard high by the brow line. Tuck the chin. Hips and shoulders squared with the bag. Step in for the 1-2. Down the pipe. And now let's drill some body shots. Let's start with 10. Preload and from either side. Whoosh 1, whoosh 2, whoosh 3, whoosh 4, whoosh 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Back to stance. Keep it centered. 1-2 to the head. 1-2 to the head. Remember, turn those fists over, land on the knuckles, and squeeze that punch. Especially if you're working that heavy bag. Squeeze at the point of impact. Keeping the thumb out of the way of danger and using it to support those powerful fists. Let's go. Turn those knuckles over. Hit that depression dummy right in the face. And back to stance. Keep it going. Step in. Step in. Back to stance, and let's work the body. Body shots. 10 of them. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. And back to stance. Square up. Hit him in the head. 1-2. 1-2-3. 1-2-3-4. 1-2-3-4-5. Back to stance. Exhale on those strikes. Keep going at your pace. Rotate, rotate. Guard high. Remember, work for you. What are we training for? A better life. The life we deserve. Well, how do we know we deserve it? Because we're putting in the work. And we deserve what we give. So let's go. Give it 100%. Keep drilling them. Don't stop. You can do this. Keep going. Exhale through those strikes. Keep it nice and tight. And let's work the body. 20 shots this time. Let's go. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Ah, I think that's 20. Might have lost count. Back to stance. 1, 2 to the head. Keep it moving. Give yourself that challenge. Let's go. Tuck the chin. Guard high. Work those body shots into your combos now. 1, 2, body shot. Back to stance. 1, 2, body shot. Back to stance. Let's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And body shot. Whoosh. Back to stance. 1, 2, body. 1, 2, 3, body. Back to stance and woo, that's the end of round 3. I went harder than I wanted to. But I got it in, I got it done. I gave myself a challenge for the day. And if it's not enough, which I think that it is, but if I feel it later, like I got a lot more to get out, then I'll give myself a bonus round. Please do the same for you. If you feel like you haven't gotten that high intensity training that challenged you today, if you haven't given yourself that challenge yet, then get out there, get to a heavy bag, and put in the work. Give yourself a challenge, whatever it is you need. The other day, I trained for 2 hours, and it was perfect. It was exactly what I needed. I was dealing with a little extra stress, a little extra frustration. I got it all out on the bag, and I felt great afterwards. I felt great the next day because I didn't overwork. But I'm not gonna do 2 hours every single day. We gotta keep checking in on ourselves and make sure we're paying attention to what our mind and body is telling us. And if it's telling you that you're stressed out and it's not worth it to exercise, or it's too difficult to exercise, ignore that, because that's coming from that imbalance. Those are the types of lies that we know are not true, because we're keeping track of the number of days that we do show up and do feel better afterwards. So this is our proof of what we need. Keep going, keep keeping track of your progress, and let it reinforce you, especially on those bad days. Because the days we're stressed the most, that's the best time to train. That's the best time to turn that stress and frustration into progress, into success, and continue to build yourself up with it. We're turning depression's tools right around and working them right back in its face, right back against it. And really, we have the home team advantage. The more you keep track, the more powerful you'll become. Until next time, I'll catch you guys same sack time, same sack channel, same sack life. Sack man out. Woo!